Have you ever asked your CPA a question about your Shopify sales and gotten just this blank stare back? Or maybe it went the other way. Maybe they asked you a question about a specific Shopify payout and you just had no idea how to answer it. If that's happened to you, I want you to know something right off the bat. That is not a you problem, but it's not necessarily a them problem either. Let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome to the Boutique Bookkeeper Show, where we take the mystery out of your money and make your numbers make sense. I'm Megan, virtual bookkeeper and bookkeeping coach, and I love helping female boutique owners just like you finally feel confident about the financial side of your business. If you're tired of feeling anxious every time you have to open QuickBooks, or if you're making sales but constantly left wondering, where did all that money go? You're in the right place. We'll cover all things bookkeeping and taxes, all in plain English, so you can be less intimidated by the numbers and finally start to use them to help you grow a profitable boutique. So, if you're ready to stop avoiding this whole numbers thing and start keeping more of the money you make, grab your coffee and your calculator and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Boutique Bookkeeper Show. I'm Megan, and today we are going to be talking about why your CPA probably can't help you with your Shopify numbers and why that's not actually their fault. So let's talk about what a CPA is actually trained and equipped for. So CPAs go through years of schooling and a very brutal 4-part exam on tax law, ethics, auditing, and just financial accounting in general. And when I was in college getting my own accounting degree, I had many of my classmates who were already making preparations to start studying for these exams right after college. I, on the other hand, had absolutely zero desire to do any more studying or exams after college, so I went the corporate route. But what I'm trying to get at is that CPAs have a lot of accounting and tax law knowledge, but what they do not get a lot or really even any type of training on is how to actually do the day-to-day bookkeeping for a business that uses any type of point of sale system or third-party billing system. Now, in theory, they know how all of it is supposed to work, right? They know how all of the accounting should be handled. They know what should happen to your books. But they are not going to be the best resource to tell you exactly where to go inside of Shopify to pull the numbers you need or how to actually get that data into QuickBooks correctly. And to be totally honest, if you're hiring your CPA to do your bookkeeping for you as well, they're probably not even the ones that are doing the bookkeeping anyway. The actual month-to-month categorizing transactions, reconciling your accounts, tracking your cost of goods, that probably is getting handed off to a lesser paid bookkeeper anyway. But the same thing applies there too. Unless that bookkeeper also has real Shopify experience, you're going to be left in the exact same boat. Now, please do not take this episode as a knock on CPAs and tax preparers, okay? I love them, God bless them, because I did taxes for 2 years and I absolutely hated every single minute of it. It takes a very special person to actually enjoy that type of work. So again, please do not take this as a knock on CPAs. And I also just want to say that, not every CPA is going to be this way, because I'm sure there are some out there that specialize in retail and e-commerce, and they can be a very helpful resource to you. But in general, a CPA or your tax preparer is probably not going to be the best resource for you if you ever have questions on how to do the actual bookkeeping when it comes to how things work through Shopify or Square or Lightspeed. So you might assume that, my CPA just handles all the numbers for me. But most CPAs are working from just whatever you hand them once a year, usually sometime in the first few months of that new year. They're not going to be in the weeds of your Shopify account and your QuickBooks. And I want to be totally honest with you here. They're probably not going to take the time required to fully understand the ins and outs of Shopify and your payouts and the adjustments to the payouts when they're working up against a tax deadline. They are trying to fly through hundreds of tax returns for hundreds of different clients, okay? They're probably just going to use the 1099K that you get from Shopify, which please do not just rely on that number, okay? I did a whole rant on this in another episode. If you want to go back and listen, I'll link it in the show notes. But they're probably just going to take that 1099K that you receive from Shopify, total up some things on your bank and credit card statements, plug those numbers into your tax return, and if you don't really know what you're looking at, you're probably just going to sign it and call it a day and pay whatever they say you owe because, well, they're the experts, right? And again, I just want to be super clear on this. This is not a knock on CPAs or tax preparers. They can be very good at what they do, but I also know how stressed and overworked they are every January through April, that they are just not going to give your books and your finances the time and attention that it might require. And I contemplated even sharing this, but I'm going to. So as I mentioned earlier, I did taxes for 2 years. I absolutely hated it, so I honestly don't even do our own taxes anymore. We use an accounting firm. And every year, for the last couple years now, I have handed them a clean P&L, a clean income statement, and detailed notes on things that they need to know every year. And I'm not kidding when I say this. Every year, the last 4 years that they've been doing it, I have found a mistake on the first draft of my tax return every single year, sometimes multiple mistakes. So, like I said, they can be very good at what they do, but they are also so busy and stressed and overworked that they just don't always have that same attention to detail that you will on your own books. So please make sure that you are reviewing your own tax return before you just sign it and have it filed, okay? At the very least, you should be comparing the either Schedule C or whatever business tax return to the P&L that you hopefully hand them. Hopefully you have at least some idea of what your expenses are and you're just making sure that they're inputting the numbers correctly, okay? Sometimes it's literally just a simple data entry error, like they transpose numbers or they completely forget to add a whole category of expenses, okay? So please make sure that you are at least doing a little bit of basic review before you just sign off on your tax return and call it a day. But going back to my original point here is what actually happens when boutique owners rely maybe a little too much on the fact that their CPA is just going to handle it for them, okay? Say that you hand off bank statements or, half-done books to your CPA in March. Your CPA has to guess or maybe make some assumptions on what certain transactions are. Maybe they come back to you with a list of questions and you don't really know how to answer them and they don't really know, what assumptions they're supposed to make. But all of this back and forth between you and your CPA, it takes more time, and time with the CPA is literally money. They're going to charge you more. So the more questions they have to ask you, the more that tax bill tends to climb up and it's going to cost you more. So instead of just relying on them to handle everything for you and maybe even handling it poorly for you, here is what I want you to walk away believing today. Okay, you do not need your CPA to organize or explain your numbers to you. You can 100% organize and understand them yourself. You can walk into tax season with clean bookkeeping records that you put together yourself and you actually understand. And if your CPA does come back with questions for you, guess what? You can be the one that just responds right away with the right answer instead of just sitting there hoping they are able to figure it out for you. So just think about what that actually feels like. Showing up to tax season with your own profit and loss report that you understand front to back, being able to explain a weird transaction in 30 seconds instead of just shrugging it off and saying, I have no idea, that's just what Shopify says, right? It's just a completely different tax season experience. And when you have clean bookkeeping to hand off to them and they give you a tax return back, it can be super easy just to compare your tax return to your P&L and make sure the numbers match and know that the tax return that you're signing off on is accurate and you're not paying more in taxes than you should. So the takeaway of all this is you do not need to rely on your CPA to understand your numbers, okay? That's not their role. And quite honestly, it's not even really a fair thing to expect of them because, really the only time you work with them is during their busiest time of the year. They are not going to take the time to make sure everything is 100% accurate. They're not going to take the time to dive into things that they're unsure of. They're going to make basic assumptions and they're going to do the best that they can in this season where they are stressed and overworked. When you know your own numbers, you get to walk into tax season feeling prepared and confident and capable of answering any questions instead of just receiving them and hoping you can answer them. So if you are ready to stop hoping your CPA will just figure it out for you and you want to actually understand your own numbers, all of that is exactly what I teach inside the Bookkeeping Made Simple for Boutiques membership. I'll walk you step by step through setting up and using QuickBooks Online specifically for your boutique so you can walk into tax season with clean books that you understand 100%. So you can join us today at findingfreedomfinancial.com/membership. But that's all that I have for you today. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode. I'll see you there. Hey there, and thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope that I shared something that helped you feel just a little bit more confident in understanding all the numbers in your boutique business. If you found this helpful, don't forget to go and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That's the best way for other boutique owners just like you to find this podcast so I can help them feel just a little bit more confident in their numbers as well. If you have any questions about what you heard today, hop on over to Instagram and send me a DM at Finding Freedom Financial. I'll be back again real soon, but in the meantime, go implement or take action on something you learned today. I promise your future self will thank you.